Stardew Valley is a game with endless potential. It's also a game that's been out for so long that almost every idea or challenge run has already been done, which is why I found it very interesting that I hadn't seen someone do what I plan on doing today. Maybe it's the ethics behind it or the lack of reason to do so, but to my knowledge, I've never seen anyone speedrun becoming friends with both Jas and Vincent as quickly as possible. Now I know how that sounds, but hear me out. Upon reaching 8 hearts with both Jas and Vincent, and then entering the Cindersap Forest on a sunny spring day, you're greeted with a cutscene of the children teaching you how to properly clean spring onions. And that's my goal for this run. I want to get the spring onion cutscene as fast as possible. I'll explain all those smaller details as we go on, but I'll still give you the bullet points version of what this run is going to be. We need gifts for the children, big shocker. We need money for gifts, also a big shocker. So we kinda need money so that we can get the gifts to give the children so that they'll love us. Once we get the money, we can get the gifts, we can give the gifts to the children will love us and give us a cutscene. So for now, let's start the run. There's not much to say about the character creation side of the speedrun, aside from the fact that we picked the forest farm for an added chance of getting forageables, as well as choosing our favorite thing in this entire world. But that's about it, so let's move on to spring. For the sake of our speedrun, spring is the season where we're going to be making all of our money, because those gifts ain't cheap. And to do that, we're going to want to get some strawberries. Strawberries are the most profitable crop for spring farming, but you can only buy them from Pierre during the Egg Hunt Festival, which is on the 13th of spring each year. Each strawberry seed costs 100 gold, which sounds like a lot, but trust me, it's worth it in the end. But before we go and waste all our money on strawberries, we're going to need to actually earn that money to waste on them to begin with. And to do that, we'll be playing the actual game. Our spring starts out like any other playthrough. We pick up our parsnips, move our bed, and begin clearing a plot for our crops. We then proceed to plant and water them, and then we go to sleep because we don't want to waste time meeting any villagers just yet. I then continue to sleep and water my parsnips each day until they're fully grown, which means it's time to harvest them and clean up the farm a bit. For those of you wondering why I'm wasting precious time on what's supposed to be a speedrun, be patient like all the other good viewers and I'll tell you. To sell our parsnips, we need to either sell them directly to Pierre at his shop, or you could sell them through the shipping bin so that they get sold overnight. At first glance, you'd probably expect me to just place them in the shipping bin, because it's a lot quicker than walking all the way over to Pierre's shop just to sell him something that could have been shipped. But that's where you'd be wrong, and that's because we're about to do something revolutionary. We're not just gonna sell crops to Pierre, but we're gonna buy crop seeds from Pierre. And to do that, I have to be in person, so I might as well go there to sell my seeds. All that to say is, I have extra time on the farm because I need to wait until 9 AM for Pierre's shop to be open. And once it's open, I can buy some potato seeds with the money I get from selling the parsnips I just grew, which in turn means I have 3 hours of time to waste until then. And what better way to spend it than chopping trees and breaking rocks? Now obviously I'm not just killing time. There's a reason to my decisions, and that reason is this little guy. Well, these little guys. The reason behind getting a scarecrow is pretty obvious. It keeps my limited crops from getting stolen by these flying thieves, which, if unlucky enough, could actually ruin a run. The chest, on the other hand, might be slightly more confusing, as I'm not going to be getting a ton of items, so why do I need to store anything? And that question will be answered in fall, so that's a reason to watch more of the video, I guess. I don't know. But with all the cleanup out of the way, I till and water the ground to prepare for the impending potatoes. I then proceed to make my way over to the bus stop area and get pretty lucky with my daffodil foraging, and then make my way to Pierre's. Now that he's open, I sell him my parsnips and buy some potato seeds. And then I make my way down to meet the only people I'll be speaking to for the entire run, Jas and Vincent. Seeing as I'm already in town, I decide now is a good time to give both Jas and Vincent their first gifts, and to finally meet them. So that's exactly what I do. Really putting those forged daffodils to good use now. But with the main objectives for the day out of the way, I plant my potatoes and head to bed. I then proceed to water my crops and go to sleep repeatedly until the 10th of spring, which just so happens to be Vincent's birthday. And in case you weren't aware, birthday gifts give 3 times the amount of friendship than normal gifts give, so you best believe we're getting this child a daffodil on his birthday. That being said, much like Pierre's shop, we can't actually get into Vincent's house until 9 AM, which means we have some more time to kill. Time that I spend watering potatoes, cleaning up the farm, foraging for more gifts, clicking the subscribe button, and rummaging through the trash for hidden treasures. I don't care if you're grossed out, Shane, I got a baguette. I then stand outside of Vincent's door, daffodil in hand, waiting for his mother to finally unlock the doors. Not sketchy at all. And once she does, I run right to Vincent to give him his birthday present, and he loves it. Awesome. On my way home, I also pass by Jazz, so I give her the baguette I found in the trash and head home to sleep. And when I wake up, my potatoes are done, so I throw them in the shipping bin and sleep for 2 days straight until the Egg Festival. On the day of the Egg Festival, I decide to clean up a bit more of my farm and then prepare the ground for my soon-to-be planted strawberries. Then I forage a bit more gifts by the bus stop and wait outside town for the Egg Festival to be set up. Once it is, we promptly go to buy the strawberry seeds and talk to both Jazz and Vincent before leaving immediately. Really hope you guys didn't expect me to do the egg hunt because this is a speedrun and we don't have time for that. But with that being said, I make it home and plant my strawberry seeds before hopping in bed. I then continue the process of watering all my crops, then sleeping for an entire day until I get an unexpected visit from Marnie. She wants to give me a cat, but I couldn't be bothered to listen to her, so I skip the cutscene and water my strawberries like normal. But when I go back into my house, I see this. The cat doesn't slow down my run at all, but I just didn't want one. But with that being said, we continue to water and sleep for a week straight until our strawberries are ready to be harvested. So we harvest them and then continue the same process because strawberries can produce fruit indefinitely after they're fully grown. And after a short 4 days later, they're ready to be harvested yet again, so I do, and then throw all my strawberries in the shipping bin to get that sweet, sweet bag. That being said, my strawberries won't produce any more harvests for the rest of spring, so I decide to sleep all the way into summer. Now that we've gained enough money for our main objective, it's time to enter hibernation. Or more simply put, it's time to sleep our way through the entirety of summer. Well, except for one day, summer 4th, Jass's birthday. And seeing his birthday gifts give triple the friendship reward, it's not a day I'm willing to miss. So on the 4th of summer, we wake up and actually head outside and see that our landscape has in fact changed. Mainly, all our crops are dead. But I leave the dead crops there so that the ground stays tilled for when I need it in the fall. Man, if you guys didn't know any better, you might actually mistake me for a competent speedrunner. Dead crops aside, I run over to the bus stop to see all the new forageables that are now available in this season. Except the only one I care about is the grapes. And that's because Vincent loves grapes. And sure, I could keep giving them liked gifts, but love gifts give almost double the friendship points, so I need to get my hands on a lot of grapes. Lucky for me though, I stumble across 2 on my way around the valley before getting to Vincent's door, around 8 AM, which I then again wait outside of for an entire hour. But once the door's unlocked, I make my way inside and give Vincent his loved gift. I then make my way over to Jass's house, who unfortunately for me was sitting inside of her room. So, as any grown adult would do, I waited outside of her door for 2 hours until she finally came out. Yeah, I don't blame her for saying this. And now with both children's birthdays out of the way for the whole year, I made my way home and slept. For the rest of summer. I'm not kidding, it took like 3 minutes. It wasn't that bad. But, just like that, we're into fall. Now that we've made it to fall, it's time to finally put our hard-earned gold to use. And by good use, I mean buying seeds. Grape and fairy seeds to be exact. And why are we getting these specific seeds you definitely didn't ask? Well, let me tell you anyway, in this long, drawn-out exposition dump that you definitely didn't ask for. You see, each Stardew Valley villager has gifts that they either love, like, dislike, or hate. Each giving or losing more or less friendship points respectively. And seeing as loved gifts give the most friendship points, that's what we're aiming for. I already mentioned that Vincent loves grapes, which is pretty easy as, surprise surprise, they grow in the fall, and you can easily buy the seeds from Pierre. Jas also has a somewhat easy one, which are fairy roses, which also, surprise surprise, can be bought from Pierre as well, and can be grown in the fall too. And seeing as we need these seeds, we needed to get money, which is why we spent all of spring farming and getting enough money to buy our seeds. Seeds that we're going to plant and water until they're fully grown, which we're then going to give the children to make them love us. and with that completely useless exposition dump, it's time to till and water the ground in preparation for our new fall crops. Once that's done, I also clear the area slightly to make it easier to traverse, and then I make my way over to Pierre's. I then buy 7 grape starters and 21 fairy seeds from him, which is technically more than I need, but lightning storms ruined my last run, and I'm not going to let them ruin this one. But after buying my seeds, I head down to give the children their gifts. It just makes sense too, because we're already in the town and it's already past 9 o'clock, so I might as well. But once the children both receive their gifts, I head back to my farm to plant the seeds, which I somehow messed up, but I can't restart, so we're both just gonna have to live with it. Terrible placement aside, I continued the tried and true sleep, water, sleep method. And before you know it, all of my flowers are fully grown and ready to be harvested. So I decide to harvest them. And in doing so, you now get to see why I definitely needed to build a chest. 1 backpack slot is definitely not enough to hold all of these flowers. With the presents now gathered, it was time to give them to the children. So I switched from water, sleep, water method to watering my grapes and sleeping like the usual, but also awkwardly waiting outside of a child's door for 2 hours, twice a week, for 2 weeks. But 2 weeks and 4 gifts later, we finally come to the last season of year 1, winter. Winter is almost a carbon copy of what we do at the end of fall, except we just don't grow anything. So it's just the awkward waiting outside of children's houses with presents to win their affection. Surprisingly, this is probably the most time-consuming part of the run, because each time we give the children a gift, we have to wait for it to turn 9 AM in game, which in real life takes just over 2 full minutes. Which may not seem like a lot, but doing nothing but waiting for 2 minutes, twice an in-game week, for 4 in-game weeks, can be pretty boring. Which is why I'm glad that I had today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. No, I'm just kidding. That game is a scam. But jokes aside, it was pretty boring. Eventually though, I was able to get Vincent up to the 8 hearts I needed him at, so I could focus entirely on Jas for the time being. And for spring, that's exactly what I did. Spring is the final season of this speedrun, and honestly, definitely the quickest. And that's because we spend this season waiting outside of a little girl's house until the only 2 adults in her house leave, after which I go into her room and give her a present. Yeah, maybe this wasn't the best speedrun idea after all, but I've come this far, so I can't really stop now. So I do the same thing again tomorrow, and I get 8 hearts with Jas. Meaning all I have to do is walk outside of Marnie's barn, get the cutscene, thus ending the speedrun. I'll admit, this was a pretty weird one. But with that being said, the first ever, to my knowledge, Spring Onion Mastery speedrun is officially over. And it only took 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 27 seconds. Or an hour and 34 minutes in-game, whichever you prefer. Which, since it's the first, again to my knowledge, is technically a world record. So let me know in the comments how you would have improved this run and maybe try it out for yourself. But with that being said, thanks for making it to the end. Leave a like if you liked, subscribe for more, and as always, the grind never stops.